Am I the asshole for telling my husband's family not to focus so much on my body? I, 28F. Am not American, but I have been living in the US with my American husband, 36M, for a year now. I'm bringing this up because I fear there may be some cultural things that I'm not understanding and may be unaware of. Now I take my health very seriously and I am on the thinner side, but I am 100% healthy and I always eat enough and I never starve or restrict. But I am incredibly fortunate in that I have enough resources to eat good and fresh food and go to the gym multiple times a week. Anyway, recently I have had a lot of people on my back about how I'm apparently too skinny and that I need to put on weight. The bulk of this has come from my sil. Let's call her Ella, who just constantly goes on about how my weight sets off her body issues and that it's already bad enough that she doesn't feel as smart as much. She's a very intelligent person, so I never understood this, but she's also bigger than me too. From this I have been at the end of a lot of body shaming with people telling me that people are just bigger in America than Europe, where I'm from, and that I need to adjust because I could really upset some people, which is bullshit because I don't think I should have to be a certain way in order to make others feel better about themselves. Anyway, yesterday it all came to a head because I was at my husband's house and Ella kept on pushing me to eat pizza and I had a piece but wasn't interested in more, and they were big slices too, and she just kept on pestering me and bothering me, which is one thing, but then my husband's mother and aunt were also on my back about how I need to eat more and I just snapped. I told them that it's ridiculous to think they have some sort of ownership over my body and how I look, and that if I'm healthy they're really in no position to say anything, and that maybe people shouldn't be so preoccupied with how I look. His sister started to cry, so I left because I felt awful. Anyway, my husband told me I should apologize and just ignore them in the future, but I don't know. I feel justified here and like I've done nothing wrong, and my mother said it's totally okay, but at the same time I want to keep the peace and I don't want to upset my husband's family. They're the only people I really know here outside of the few friends I have. Am I the asshole? Edit. Please don't fat shame. That's not what I wanted for this post. I just wanted to complain a little and try to get some perspective. I don't want anyone to say anything bad about anyone. Thank you for all the comments. I've learned a lot from you guys. I agree that I'm not the asshole, but I will apologize for shouting. Thank you so much. Update. I spoke to my mill and it seems like a lot of this was a misunderstanding. Apparently my husband was genuinely worried about my having lost a little more weight recently. About 3 kilograms from stress. And in her case it seems like she was just trying to get me to feel comfortable with putting some of the weight back on, and honestly I have been looking kind of scrawny lately, so she's probably right. I feel a bit stupid. I probably took out some of the frustration I feel about being so far away from my family out on my husband's family, and that wasn't fair. There are a few issues concerning communication that we all need to work through. Again, thank you all for your comments. Not the asshole, they should respect your boundaries, like period. Not the asshole sounds like your sister-in-law is pushing her issues into you. They need to back off and realize their insecurities have nothing to do with you. Not the asshole. It is your body, and as long as you're healthy it's not their place to make comments. The bulk of this has come from my sil. Let's call her Ella, who just constantly goes on about how my weight sets off her body issues. This is not your issue. If Ella has body issues, then she needs to seek the appropriate help for that. Should she just never leave her house in fear of being around people who look different to her? Just because people in the US tend to be bigger does not mean it's a requirement to fit in. Not the asshole in any possible way. This is crazy manipulative bullshit, and you were right to be upset. You do not need to eat on demand or to eat to make someone else feel better about themselves. Set a boundary. Tell them that you do not want your eating habits or body to be a subject of discussion anymore. Period. Edit. Anytime they push you to eat, just say, I think I am done eating now, thank you. Repeat the exact same words every time there is pressure. NTA. Don't even have to read. No one has the right to comment on another's body. Not the asshole. Don't apologize, you did nothing requiring an apology. You didn't call her out on her weight, you just told her to stop focusing on yours. Her insecurities are her own issue. Also, you need to get your husband on board, like now. Not the asshole girl, tell them to fuck right off. Not the asshole. They were in the wrong and you stood up for yourself. Am I the asshole for refusing to be inside my mom and sister's houses or cars? People involved in this. Me, 25 female. My sister, 29 female. My mom, 49 female. My mom and my sister are smokers who easily go through a pack of cigarettes a day each. My dad was too. He died from lung cancer 3 years ago. Between his diagnosis and death it was 5 months. It was too late for any treatments. I was living with my parents and was planning to move out, but then my dad got sick and I stayed to help my mom when he was sick and after he died. My sister was renting her own place, but she moved into the house my parents had bought to use as a rental, income property. It is just around the corner and she could be close. She still lives there. In January of 2020 I enlisted in the military, not full-time but for it you still have to go to basic training, and when I got back I started a new job and moved into my own apartment. By then the pandemic was in full swing and I didn't see my mom and sister in person for a while because I work in the medical field and can't work from home. I wanted to ask if now that there is a vaccine and things are a bit better am I an asshole because I won't go inside my mom or sister's houses or cars because of their smoking habit? It always bothered me but once I left I realized how bad the smell is and now I refuse to be in that. Before I started basic training I was in an Airbnb nearby and I realized how bad my clothes smelled even though I've never smoked before. I ended up buying some new clothes before basic training because nothing got the smell out and I bought more when I moved into my own place. None of my old clothes couldn't be salvaged. When my sister moved from her apartment into the rental property she got billed over $6,300 to clean up from her smoking. I can't even imagine how bad my mom and my sister's houses need to be cleaned since they smoke inside. My mom was unable to return the car she leased because the smoking destroyed it. She had to pay a big fine. My sister lost her job just before the pandemic for smoking in her work vehicle because it was a shared car and other people complained and it counted as a workspace and she refused to stop. I will still go to see my mom and sister as long as we sit outside in the yard. We live in a climate, Pearl City, Hawaii, where sitting outside all year round isn't an issue. I move a bit further from them when they smoke. They refuse to come to my apartment at all because smoking isn't allowed inside or on my balcony and I won't let them. I don't tell them to stop smoking or comment on it because neither of them want to quit. They are adults who made their choice. But does it make me an asshole or a terrible daughter, sister if I won't go inside their houses or be in their cars because the smell is so bad I can't stand it? For their part my mom and sister deny that it smells and think I'm overreacting. My sister ripped me a new one the other day for upsetting my mom. Both of them have called me terrible and are really angry over this. Not the asshole. Secondhand smoke is a real thing and I've been in these homes and own sheets from these homes. You never get the smell out. You have every right to be healthy and comfortable. Their choices are their own but you don't have to put yourself in bad situations to make them feel better. Not the asshole. You're not cutting them out entirely, you're just not subjecting yourself to those decisions. They can come to you and smoke outside, you can come to them and spend time outside, you can meet up at a restaurant and enjoy lunch or dinner together. Absolutely not the asshole. My parents both smoked in the house my entire childhood and I had constant sinus issues. They completely cleared when I moved out of their house. I was so angry. I'm still angry obviously. It sounds like you can get together other ways, outdoor stuff, so you don't have to go in their homes. Their smoking has cost them so much money and they watched someone they loved die of lung cancer and that didn't even faze them? Yikes. Not the asshole. As a former smoker, it stinks, and it gets on everything and never comes out. You're valid for your concerns and ultra-mature for not trying to influence them one way or the other. I do agree that when you're also smoking, you can't tell how bad it is because the sense of smell is cut down. They won't come to your home because they can't smoke there, so who's being the a-hole here? You're absolutely right not to want to be in the home or car of a smoker, especially heavy smokers like your mom and your sister. Clearly your father's death from lung cancer didn't change a thing. Quite frankly, I'd want to keep all my visits virtual, considering they still smoke around you. Not the asshole. Not the asshole. I grew up with a mother who smoked a lot. After I moved out, the smell of cigarettes makes me physically ill. I can't be in her apartment long term. I once kicked her out of my car when she tried to light a cigarette. I told her, no, and she said it wasn't a big deal, so I kicked her out of the car. Smoking is bad for your health, bad for the health of those around you, and most people don't like the smell. Not to mention, the smell sticks to you long after you leave the place of a smoker. Not the asshole. Just be clear that you love them, will happily see them elsewhere, but that because of the cigarette smell, you can't be in those spaces. Not the asshole. It's a dirty, smelly habit so I don't blame you at all. I've also lost family to smoking, lung cancer. Years ago I bought a car at an auction that had belonged to a smoker. I cleaned the carpets myself and the filth in the dirty water tank was almost 2 inches of thick, black, oily sludge. I had to shampoo the entire inside 5 times to get the smell out. Am I the asshole for fining my friend as her landlord? I'm 27M and my friend, who will be referred to as L, is 29F. L and I have been friends since middle school. I will say that L is not as ambitious as me, and has worked as a waiter forever, with no plans of getting a real job. This past August L moved from her last apartment. As she was searching for properties she saw one of mine, obviously not knowing that I owned it, posted on Zillow, and inquired about it. I was conflicted as I knew that L is a daily marijuana smoker, which I do partake in occasionally, but I don't allow smoking in any of my units, and I know for a fact that she has had no problem in the past flouting similar restrictions in her previous apartments. I replied that for social distancing purposes I would allow a self-guided tour of the unit and I left a combination box with the key on the door handle for the agreed upon time. After the tour she emailed me saying she wanted it and asked how she should pay the deposit. I made sure to be very clear that smoking was not allowed and would result in a $600 fine as smoking was found to have occurred on the premises. This was all written in the lease which she signed and faxed back to me. Later, L decided to throw a party for our friend group, and I attended. As I walked in, I saw L light a huge marijuana blunt in the living room and begin passing it around. As I said previously, I do partake in marijuana occasionally, and when offered to me, I did take a couple of puffs. I didn't let on any problem for the rest of the party. I ended up crashing on the couch and leaving the next morning. That Monday morning, I sent Elle an email informing her that she had been reported for smoking in the unit, and that she had 1 week to pay the $600 fine or she would be served an eviction notice. I received no reply, but Elle texted our friend's iMessage group chat with a screenshot of the email saying that she was flat broke, after paying rent, utilities, and purchasing party supplies and groceries for herself, that she wouldn't get paid for another 3 weeks and that she was afraid that an eviction would sink her credit to a point that would require years to recover from. Everyone else in the chat instantly took her side, ranting about the evil landlord, and talking about how unfair such fees were. I gently reminded her that if the landlord was charging her for this incident then it was likely clearly outlined in her lease, and perhaps this should be a lesson to pay attention to the contracts she signs and respect the rules of the owners whose properties she resides in. This did not go over well in our friend group. I haven't been spoken to by any of them for about a week now and have not received payment for the fine from L to this day. None of them know I am the landlord. I am contemplating giving her an extra week before the eviction notice for old time's sake. But now I wonder, am I the asshole? You are the asshole. You have smoked there too. I also find it incredibly creepy you have not told her you are her landlord. You are the asshole. I say this as a fellow landlord. If you knew she would break your rules and that you would hold her accountable you should never have engaged her inquiry into renting your unit. And how fucking weird would it be to find out you've been ranting about your landlord to your friend and that he's the landlord? Then you smoked in your own unit yourself and reported her to yourself and want $600 and a threat of eviction? Friend. If you were a real stickler for the rules you wouldn't have allowed your friend to rent from you in the first place. You are the asshole. I don't think you should have leased the place to your friend in the first place and keeping it a secret. Also you smoked there too, even if it was just a few puffs you still broke the rules. You are the asshole. First, just because she's in a waiter's job doesn't mean she hasn't got ambition. Second, you smoked the joint with her and let others party. Third, she let you stay the night on her sofa and then you fine her. You went to her party, you smoked her blunt, you crashed on her couch, and now you're fining her? Dude, your picture should be used to illustrate the definition of asshole in the Urban Dictionary. You are the asshole, big time. You are the asshole. So what if you went over there to hang out, since it's your friend, and brought your own joint? Are you allowed to smoke? Would she be able to hit it, or is that a fine? I was completely on your side until you decided to partake. You broke your own rules you set and are now trying to fine her, and you're an asshole for that. If you wouldn't have hit it and didn't say anything I'd say not the asshole but you smoking with them too and then having a problem with it is a dick move. Yes, you are the asshole. What a shitty thing to do. Note, you are correct, you did write into the lease, which she agreed to, a no smoking policy in the unit. But the fact that you went to her party, and you yourself violated this policy is reason enough for you to be the asshole here. If smoking is such a big deal to you, you should have abstained and not had even one puff inside the place. Had you done that, my answer would be different, but because you, yourself, engaged in smoking up inside the unit, you really should have let that slide. And contemplating eviction? I mean, you knew what she was like when you agreed to lease it to her in the first place. That's on you, Op. You are the asshole because you smoked there too. And also because you haven't told her you're the landlord.